Hello! Welcome, new, old, young, and the crumbly to the Gathering Stone. So, how many of you enjoy solitude? Or prefer alone time to the company of others? Even if that's not the case for you, this episode might change your mind. Let's jump into the story and see if Satash can teach us something about introverted isolation. Out on the edge of a battered seaside cliff stood an ancient lighthouse surrounded by tall, unkempt grass and disgraced with years of piled bird droppings. Gone were the visible markings indicating its once brilliant plumage, along with the safe guiding angelic light at the peak, which used to keep fishermen from bashing into the shallow rocky bottom below. This old, weather-beaten, formerly proud operation is now but an eyesore for most passers-by. Chipped, crumbling stone, boarded-up windows, and overgrown ivy have taken over. But that doesn't mean this remote sentinel is vacant. As a matter of fact, on most nights you could catch a glimpse of flickering light from those haphazard portholes. And some might say, if you dare approach, one could even hear the sounds of eerie hissing, clinking, and bubbling echoing from within. Surely they thought this was the former watchman doomed to haunt the tower for every ship that has run aground. But they would be wrong in their superstition. Not that it bothers the current occupant, to say the least. As a matter of fact, he preferred it that way. People should mind their own affairs and keep noses out of his secret business, he would say. For Satash is an alchemist, and he ranks privacy at the top of his hierarchy of needs. Spending countless late nights locked up underneath the once golden warning light, amongst his potions, ingredients, books, and experiments. The humming of low fires and bubbling concoctions keep his mind at ease while working away, always jotting down new discoveries and ideas, or scrawling a haphazard note to remind himself of things to do, lest he forget while getting lost amongst his own busy thoughts and plans. Getting wrapped up in one's own work can be an easy escape if one were so inclined to ignore the outside world. But Satash does get outside to touch grass from time to time. He didn't choose this location for no reason, after all. You see, Satash is an alchemist who specializes in potent creations of the natural sort. As in, all the ingredients he uses or studies come from the natural world. Specifically, vegetables. And even more specifically, eggs. Yes, that's right. The beginning of a great many species in this world, nourishment for others, a fantastic emulsifier. That golden center of beauty is full of possibilities, and its magical properties are boundless. Even more so when you consider all the varieties. From fish and amphibians to reptiles, whimsical creatures, and especially birds. Like the ones who call the cliffside their home, right outside his doorstep. Alas, mating season is over and the nests have dried up for the time being. Unfortunate for the ceaseless work, but not to be unexpected. It just means he will have to visit the town and brush elbows with the locals. Perhaps even be forced to communicate? He shuddered at this minor annoyance. But all the same, he knew it would do him some good to stretch the old legs on a worn dirt road, hear the ambiance of chatter, and take in the aroma of some finely cooked meals. So, around the late afternoon, Satash set some of his creations to simmer, corked a few others, then made his way down the spiraling wooden staircase to the entryway, tossed his teal overcoat on, slid into an old pair of sandals, strung a satchel around his back, and grabbed his old staff before stepping out into what would be a harsh, blinding light for his eyes to adjust.
Spending too much time in the dark as of late. I should rectify that,
he thought to himself. Walking to the edge of the cliff, he peered over to look at the large nests tucked into the rock, breathed with a sigh, then made his way towards the forest edge and looked for the lantern-marked road which led into town. It was an uneventful trek, aside from the usual farmer or merchant passing by, and as Satash approached the outskirts, a familiar sound filled him with a bit of excitement, coupled with trepidation. People. The hustle and bustle of everyday life. Small fruit stand sellers yelling for attention, stable hands tending to all manner of beasts of burden, townsfolk traveling to and fro, stopping for an occasional snack or, like him, running errands. It can be a lot to take in, but Satash pulled his hood closer and kept to himself. Making his way across the grounds, he couldn't help but smile. Conversations weaved in and out as he walked by. Children played hide-and-seek amongst the many vendors, and all manner of smells from spiced, fatty foods hung in the air. It reminded him of how full life can be, and he was grateful to be out and about for a change. Upon entering his favorite market, and while browsing the many different eggs for sale, he happened to overhear two women talking at a small table behind the display. Something about different breeds of chickens that piqued his interest.
Yes, Ethel, yes. Pink chickens. I wouldn't have believed it myself, but these three travelers all had cloaks sporting little things, talking about a place called the, Gathering Rock or something or other. Anywho, they spoke of these funny-looking fowls all rosy-coloured. Now think of what those eggs might fetch round these parts, eh? Pink chickens.
Satash stopped what he was doing at once, set his merchandise back in place, and then left for home. The gathering stone, he thought to himself, as he crossed the threshold of his tower. I wonder. Lost completely in his thoughts, he barely remembered climbing the stairs, snuffing out all the little candles and fires, corking as many potions as he could, then packing what belongings he thought he would need before taking one last look around his comfy little workshop. He would miss the quiet nights in solitude, but the enticement of possibilities pushed him onward and outward of his comfort zone. For that night, he set out to find this mystical place in hopes of new horizons and discoveries. And find us he would indeed, though not of his own willing, of course. I believe Pepper, Dill, and Beans wanted this clever old alchemist to find us. To what end? Who knows? But I, at least, have enjoyed the company of another scholar around here, and hopefully you have enjoyed yet another tale of the lost. Be sure to come back next week for more characters, stories, and illustrations. Farewell for now.